Alright, so we clean this up a little bit, and I got that stick underneath it because I want to try to push the whole thing up. It's flopping. I'm going to push this whole thing up, and we're going to weld here, and we're going to put a brace across that. But before we brace it, I think what we'll do is we're going to weld and grind. Alright, so I gave it a nice pass on super high. Alright, and I didn't weld this on there. So it looks good. I welded it on there. I'm using an old flapper disc. That's golden. Let's get in closer. Now you could leave it like that, but alright, let's see. Let's zap it. Should be able to get in there. It's a little bit more light for me now. Oh yeah. Let's see. Oh yeah. That's a lot better. Okay. And I can add a little bit more on this side and a touch there, just a scotch. A dab will do you. Uh-oh. Not as much light, but that's beautiful. That's a nice tag. Look at the tag here. That's a nice tag. And a tag up here. That's beautiful. That's it. That's all I need on this side. Clean it up, wire it a little bit. We'll get the rest of it tomorrow. Just sweeten that up. Yeah, that's nice. I'm getting pretty close to where I need to be. It's a nice tag, and one over here. And I don't think we have to do, we could do this one. It's a very nice tag right there. The motor was moving a lot when I would pull in the clutch. And it doesn't move, even with the one that I did, but you know, there's a lot of stress up in here. Nothing, no movement now. Nothing. You know, she's locked in. It's repaired. Alright, so now there's another spot. And we'll come and see what it looks like. That's the nice little spot weld, you know, a little rosette. And hey Rose, there's a little spot over here. Alright, so I grabbed the cover, I bolted it on. It's important because there's a bracket, the swing bracket here, the pivot bracket, that also gets mounted here. And that's not just to hold the cover on, that's to add support. So this was broken. I showed you the little piece. And a little piece is shot. So I just grabbed the rusty wash that was laying around, I cleaned it off. And I'm going to throw my gloves on, and I'm just going to tag it around there. Let's see. Yeah, that'll work. Oh, that's beauteous. Just a little bit more. Just a little tag here. That's it, because it will burn the edge, which it's doing. So just put a little tag there. Don't even really need it. Okay? That's perfect. And there you go. You got a nice mount. And I'll put the hardware back in tomorrow. I'm going to go grab some food. And I'm pretty happy with this. We'll take that back off later when it cools. Alright, let's see. I got one off. It snapped, which is fine. What's one of the nice things about heating it? Okay, because it can move around, it might come off either by just unscrewing, or it might come off by breaking because you're weakening it. You're making it softer. And I don't want to struggle. So if they snap, so much the better. I just want it to come off easily. Now this one actually did come off, okay. There's a lot. A little rust in there. Okay, we're done. Alright, so let's let that cool down. Let me put away my torch. We'll pick up the debris and we'll get started on the wire wheeling and all of that. Right? Because now we're going to go right to, as soon as this cools off, we're going to go right to wire wheeling. And we'll get that all cleaned up and we'll clean off the rest of the machine. Okay, so, you know, just a quick cleaning and a little Scotch-Brite. I'll just put another coat of acid on. Down there you can see, I know it's a little dark, but you can see what it's doing. And it'll leave that sort of film on it. Right, just going to eyeball it here, but you can see it's obviously belly, right? I did knock the edges down a little bit. Doesn't have to be perfect, but this will. Good morning, welcome back, guys. This is Monday morning, and now I'm a little behind schedule, but we've taken on a little bit more. So you see the little oil dripped over here. We're going to clean that off. But you could see the zinkish, you know, coatings, right? This didn't clean up as much as the underneath did, oddly, but that's fine. If you wanted to, you could take a cookie and sand that off real fast. Maybe I'll do that. And then I'll give it a quick etch. Okay. The wire wheel and whatever just didn't get to it. So maybe I'll grab a cookie and we'll do that. Just make it look a little prettier. But other than that, it's clean. Alright, it's actually been wiped down and it's allowed to dry. I ground this down. This looks pretty good. I'm just going to put an edge on it. I have on the back side, it's got burrs and it needs a little bit of a bevel. So it's got the straightened and I got the edge on it and it's basically cleaned up. It was all naggy and rusty. And then when I'm done, I'll pass over it because they don't want it sharp. All right. Doesn't need. It's not cutting anything. It's cutting the snow. You don't want a super sharp edge. You just want you know, you want an edge, but you don't want a super sharp edge because it's going to get beat down anyway. Or a sand or a combination here. So I'm going to use this and one of these cookies. It's an older one. We can use this one up. All right. So we'll chuck this up in the air compressor thing, and I'll just hit those areas, and then I'll squirt a little acid on, and then that'll be it. Then I'll clean it off, give it a little bit to set up, and then I'll clean it off, and that's it. All right, I'll be back. In areas like this, you can use the cookie. See, the rust is very stable. Even just with me doing this, it's not really coming off. Products together, very nice. Again, not much needed. All right, I'm going to let that set. Put a little more product on this guy. All right, guys, we're back at it. I've cleaned up the shop. Everything is ready. Well, Straightened it up. Taped off, cleaned, etched, cleaned, wiped down. There's a little spot in the bottom I gotta wipe. With a little mineral spirits and lacquer there. But that's all ready to go. And I actually cleaned off my table. When was the last time you saw my table look like this? Alright, I'm just going to get out a small container, and we're going to put a little of this into a small container. I'm thinking we will put it into this nice glass container. And that way, yeah, because I'm not sure how much I'm going to use up right now. We're going to mix a little bit of it with some lacquer thinner. Because when I want it a little bit thinner, and I also want it to dry. And with lacquer thinner in it, it will do that. All right, I'll be right back. Okay, so with a little bit of the lacquer thinner in here, right, you can see, and I can smell it, you can see it's drying pretty quick. As I put it on, it's already starting to tack up. Once that sheen disappears, it won't be dry, it won't be cured, but it'll be dry for the most part to the touch, but you wouldn't want to rub it or put your fingers all over it. But it'll be dry enough for me to do a few other things, and it'll be dry enough really for me to coat it with a color. So what I want to do is I want to take this handle off next, because we're going to clean and paint that. That's done. This is drying. I'll flip it when I come back from lunch, and I'll do the other side. Same thing with this. This will be able to do the other side, and that'll get one coat of color, if at all. So we'll hang it when that happens. And really my next project is to fix the chains on this side, and I just have to put a little baling wire on that chain, right, so it doesn't flop around. And then we'll wire wheel in here a little bit. We'll clean that up nice. We'll get a coat of some nice rusty metal primer on that. Alright, paint's about dry, primer. And so in a little while I'll be able to start spraying it. Like I said, I still have a few more things to take off, but certainly by the end of tonight I'll have this in yellow. And I fixed up the chains on these and tied them off, and now I'm going to start with the wire wheel. Alright, so I hit them with acid, I hit them with the wire wheel, I hit them with acid, they're nice, but the tires are worn, they're kind of beat. I fixed the chains up. I rinsed them in water because I got acid on the rubber, and although I'm not going to wash them with soap and everything, but just some basic water, and it'll neutralize it and won't be so bad. I don't want to make the tires absolutely worse just to clean the rims. Alright, we're back on it. So this is all ready to go, and it's taking its time drying now because it's getting late, even though it's warmer in here. The primer was so thirsty. I mean, primer is like that, but it was so thirsty it sucked up almost the entire can. So we're going to have to work in possibly some other colors in this or whatever, because I don't even know if I'm going to have enough paint to really successfully coat all of this. So what we've done here is I've worked some acid and Scotch-Brite along this handle. If you wanted to, you could spray it clear and it would still look pretty good, but we're not. We're going to go with primer and black. So I'm going to clean up a little bit. I got the handles off. We're going to clean those up with a little bit of acid and what have you, and then we're going to dry them off and wipe them down, and we're going to spray them with clear. We'll silverize the rest of the rods and what have you. Okay, I'm running out of paint, guys, and so you see in the two-tone look. I have enough paint to maybe on the yellow to paint the sides one more time and a little bit on the top. And if I wanted to, I could save a little bit for touch-up. You're not going to see the underneath side. I did paint that again. It's a little stripy. That's how this paint is. It's a Valspar tractor and implement. And I honestly think the Rust-Oleum is actually a little bit thicker or more forgiving and covers more. We're going to do this. It's a little tacky, not hard yet, but we can do a coat of gray on there and then put them to the side. I did this. I taped it off. We're going to leave it basically. It's a little rusty, so there was some issues. All right, evening update. I mean, I've been out here. Geez, I was up at, what, 5, 6? But I got out here 7:30, whatever. It's like 9. I'm pushing the materials as far as I can. So we got black on the handle. So now if I sleep late, it's snowing out. Let's see. let's take a look and see. Right, turn the light on real quick. And so I'm so far behind. This is how I was. It's just nasty. And look, now I don't know how much accumulation we're going to have tonight, but you know, obviously there's snow, and I'm not ready yet. I do have big green snowblower. If I get myself in where I need to deal with it, that's still my snowblower. That was my original one, and it runs. I tuned it up last year. It just needs a little cleaning this year, and if I need to use it, fine. But I pushed it as far as I can. Tomorrow we'll come back in, and I saved a little bit of yellow behind because I'm pushing too much, and in case I get a little drippies overnight or whatever. So tomorrow we'll come back in and we'll put green on it. I won't need a coat of black on the handle. That'll dry, and I can put my handles on as soon as I'm done with them. As soon as I do what I want to do to them, I'll be able to mount the handles back on, and that will be dry. The control panel, the shifter, that'll be dry as well, so we can clean that up and put that on there. It's all ready to go. It's all ready and clean, rather. We'll just take the tape off. So we can do assembly. I want to polish off the shafts. Okay guys, it's the next day. I polished off these shafts with a wire wheel. I didn't show it, but you don't need to do too much. And then I cleaned it with a little bit of acid and let it sit for 20 minutes, a half hour. And that's that acid that I like to use. And then I just I have some like leftover rusty metal primer with a lot of you know, vehicle in it, mostly lacquer thinner. And I put that on there. I did drip a little bit and I touched it up. I did save some paint, some yellow paint back, knowing that I'm going to have some touch-up work to do. Next step is I'm going to clean my brush. We're going to put green on this. This is dry enough, but there's still a little tacky on there. Working on these are still a little tacky, right? They're starting to get a little bit harder. I don't know how that's going to work out. These I cleaned up. Let's see here. Let me. They're kind of hanging up there. This one I acid etched this morning because the springs tend to get full of yuck. And then using the same very liquidy, light, rusty metal primer, I soaked that spring. And then we're going to hit it with a little bit of, this will get the same paint as this, which is it's like a aluminized paint. It dries very quickly, too. And this guy had a little bit of rust on the bottom, mostly. So we acid etched that off. I did that, and I put that same type of primer on. It's almost dry. It's almost ready for the next coat. I took the tape off of, so that'll all be dry soon. I took the tape off of that. It looks a little bit better. You know, maybe the green wasn't so good idea, but listen, I'm experimenting. That was a rusty area, but the rest of it's in good shape. I greened the underneath, and we're going to clear coat that, all the writing on there, the print on there. But I can't do it now because the paint will craze if I do that. I'll have to give it a couple of days before we put clear coat on that. We'll get all that cleaned up. This is almost dry. You know, it's certainly dry enough to assemble. I'd say it's dry, but it's not hard. So those came out good. So we're just going to do some detail work now. We're going to put a little green on that. Let that sit. We'll let these dry, and then we'll get to painting that. And in another hour or two, we should be able to, a few hours. So it's taken a long time to dry. It's very cold out. It did snow. I didn't show you, but it's melting now. But upstate New York had huge snow. So this is what's left. It's almost all gone. Okay, but yeah, you know, I gotta keep moving. I'm tired. I don't want to do this till 11 o'clock again. So let's see what we can do. Slow down a little bit today. Take my time so I don't feel so overwhelmed. And we'll get done what we can get done. You know, I'm not going to rush it for no reason. All right, I'll be back. Okay, guys, a little quick update. So everything is basically dry enough for me to assemble it. So a couple of things I want to show you. I'm adjusting the speed control. So that rubber wheel, okay, rides on that disc. It's in high gear. And if you look, that wheel is just about even with the edge. High speed is at the end of the wheel. Okay, the fastest speed you're going to get. Now, if I look at this adjuster here, okay, you can see that from where I painted, from where it was originally, it's in a different spot. It wasn't adjusted right. It was riding actually off the edge of the wheel. You don't want that because you're not going to get, wear. Now, how often are you in top gear? Not that often, okay? But you want to make sure that it's riding properly, and I probably will go up a little bit, again, by moving this up on the thread. So, another thing we want to check is now let's change its position. Hold on, I've got this set up over here. So as you can see, I'll take off the Velcro, get my hand out of the way. Alright, and what we want to do is change gear. And I'm going to bring it all the way up to here. And underneath this is neutral. That's reverse. And that's neutral. And this will be first gear. So we're going to look to see where is the alignment now. Alright, so it's just about in the right spot. As you can see, it's as long as it's not to the edge. Alright, so we're okay there. Now reverse should go in the other direction. This will be neutral, I believe. So neutral is like not hitting anything. It's almost over the bolt. And then reverse. Alright, so let's make sure we're okay. So this is reverse. There's only one reverse gear, so she's pretty good. She's in good shape. So what we're going to do is actually, by bringing it over to the left a little bit more in this adjustment in high gear, we're actually setting up the correct swing for all the other gears. And so I want to just push that up a little bit more. Now another thing, okay, I adjusted, the amount of tension on here can be adjusted. There is a threaded rod and a bolt inside the spring. I don't know if that's good. I'm assuming it is. We're going to leave it the way it is for now. This adjuster, that was in the wrong spot. And one thing I tried doing is I moved it to the outer edge, the outer hole, and that'll give me a little bit more fulcrum. And let me put this down. And so, sorry for swinging you around. And so when you pull up on the handle, right, what it was doing was getting stuck here. Right? What you want it to do is sort of fold over and almost release a little bit of tension as it comes back to the full position. This way you can just keep your hand on it. Alright, you don't want too much. Now this also pulls a lot of tension down here. So this one seems like that's all your belt tension right there. That's all the spring. So we really don't want a lot of spring tension on that. And you don't want to make it so difficult. I'm almost out of thread because I changed fulcrum. I could probably tweak it one more turn, and that would make it so that this was a little bit easier in the down position. I wouldn't have so much, but I think we're going to leave it at that for now. I made this so that I could do this later on. I put a clevis pin in here. Over here we're going to put the cotter pin in. So I'm going to go back, I'm going to move it out a little bit more, and I'll show you what I... So what I'm going to do is I'm going to pull this off, and just one more run. We're going to twist it upward. Move that out of the way. So we're going to come just another turn, and then put it in. It's all lubed up. I'll put a little bit more grease on it, because I think that's the perfect spot. I use a little bit of my lead plate. I like it. Just so that it's not wear. And then another thing that I want to do is I want to put a little bit of my lead grease on this here. The lead plate works okay. I find it to be a little bit oily, but you want to get as much on here as you can. You don't want anything too oily because you don't want it to drip, and that tends to drip a little bit. So, but it's going to drip out of the way. So now we're going to fasten it. And there's a little bit of play in here, which is good, because we want that. I'm going to put a fresh washer on it. And let's get this in. Spill a little grease or oil on something, that's fine. Alright, that's all lubed in there. And before I close it up, I'm going to put a little bit of oil on a few more spots. And then before I close this up and turn it, we're actually going to, I don't want to get anything where I don't want it, but here, you can hit it again with chain wax. These are copper oil light bushings, so once you get a little bit of oil on them, they stay. Now add a hole. Okay. Put the pin through. Take the pin out of where it is, put the pin there. The wheel won't fall off and it'll free spin. Why would you want one to free spin? Well, the answer is that it's generally pretty simple. Same here. And I wrap that around. If you have a driveway or whatever, and you got to make a lot of left or right hand turns, a lot. This is a heavy machine to try to sort of pick up and jostle around and turn it. I get that here where there's a lot of areas where I can go straight and then I got to cut tight, and trying to do that with both tires engaged and under the throttle, yeah, good luck, especially for a heavy machine like this size. This is big. But even as it is right now, somebody will see this. This is over $1,000. This machine. So could you get for $500 for it? Probably. If you could prove that it's running well, you certainly will get $350 for it. So think about it. So if you made $300 in 2 days, would you be happy? All right, working on part-time on the side, I could condense this down into 2 days worth of work. Put a little more time into it because I want it. I actually want this one, but I could have just sprayed over a lot of stuff. I could spray one color. I could just go find the right orange and cover it over like my lawnmowers that I do. You'll see when I do the green one, I'm going to do a similar thing to the green one. It's just going to get a little bit of touch-up paint. It's not going to get a color change or a recolor or anything like that. It runs. I made this thing run well. The main thing is really, there's no money in this. It's materials and time. So if you started early in the year, before fall really hits, you put a little time into a machine like this, you'll either have yourself a nice machine or you can sell it and make some pretty good coin. Keep in mind, if you're doing a lot of this off the books, right, you could make good money, because what's $300 on the books? $500? $400? Right? $450? When they're taking sometimes up to 40% of your income, think of it that way. And it's cash. All right? Okay. It's clean, smooth as a baby's bottom, and it's super clean. Okay. And if you use a coarse Scotch-Brite, you could put a little tooth in it. Alright, but it's smooth. It's enough to grab the wheel and be clean and free of oil, but it's not enough to. And brake clean is good. You could use alcohol. Don't use lacquer thinner, it's too harsh. Don't use gum out. So I flooded my rag. And I'm just going to put my glasses on. I'm just going to reach in there, flooded rag, and I'm just going to spin any oils or paints or junk that was on this rubber. Now, another thing you can do too is if you want to liven the rubber up a little bit, you can use kerosene. See all the junk that came off that wheel? Going to rust. It's not going to be any instant rust. And all you're doing with this is always going to be rust. So it's going to come back. The paint's going to wear off. You're going to scratch it. You're trying to mitigate rust and just abate, really, because it's going to happen again. But, you know, how much of it? Well, that's up to you. You know, we could touch up a little bit there. All right, what do you think? All right, I would have liked a little lighter color green or an even darker color green. Hunter green is not my favorite. I like that green. I like it like that, black and everything. It's nice, it's sharp. All right, we're good. Everything is rolling good. All right, it's down. So we still have a few things to do. The orange, though, is going to look weird. That the orange of this, the shoot, but that's okay. All right, it'll tie in with the orange in the back. All right, body saw. I used a Sawzall for this part. Very cute, huh? It's nice, John. Alright, what am I doing? He's like, what are you doing? Right, I walked this up pretty good, right? Nice, huh? Wrecked it pretty good. Come walk with me. Okay. So I got it clamped in. I heated it up. And I bent it over, and of course now it's not fighting me. Right? And I'll take it off in a few minutes, let it cool down. I'll take it off in a few minutes, and I'll just trim a few areas, clean it up, clean the edges a little bit, make it pretty. I bird's mouth and I relief cut where I need to cut. So we'll get rid of that, all right? And we'll make it a little bit nicer, and then we'll close it up. All right, so you can see that basically it's taken the shape now, all right? Now I'm not forcing it to do what I want it to do. I want to reinforce, not force it. Let me take it off, let me clean it up, and then we'll install it. Okay, so it's on. And so found some hardware for it. Right? Nice. And what's nice is, right, I riveted mostly from the inside outward. That way, there's nothing in the way, okay? It's not going to get caught up. And there's really nothing on the outside. There's no sharp things. So I like it. I'm happy with that. If I was keeping it, that would be fine for me. Okay, guys, it's the next day. I figured this is a good chance for you to just take a peek inside. Right, I'm going to leave it like this. I'm going to go let's mount the scraper on. And I'll put it down, adjust the scraper, and we'll move it outside, and we'll warm it up. And this way I can, well, maybe I'll dump the oil too. And then we'll put oil and we'll bring it outside, and I'll give it. Okay. Now, let's get rid of these studs. What do you think? And paint it. Now, what I want to do is I'm going to put it back down. There's no adjustment really on that thing, so very little. Put it back down, and I'm going to reach in here. We're going to separate the top of this. So let me get my tools together because it's leaking. And because it's been leaking, I may not be able to fix the leak. But the way this works is there's a reservoir, so half of this is really the reservoir. I just want to make sure there's still enough fluid in there so that it'll last a long time, because it really only tends to leak when I push it back this way. And that's pretty rare, all right? So let's take a peek in there, top off the fluid, put it back together again. If I need to touch up any of the paint, fine, and we'll move forward. And then I think it's just an oil change, and then we'll run it. Boy, you can really see, you know, what's the differences in these machines here. And I want to take the camera off the pod real fast. Boy, I tell you, this is a real gearbox. We'll get some pictures of that. I mean, nice gear system, and basic O-rings, easy to get. You buy an O-ring kit if you want, you know. this is the way to make it. Just a little bit of junk in there, nothing really bad. A little bit of water got in. See, it was sitting in a little bit of rust, but we've moved it around. And what we'll do now, okay, is I'm just going to put fresh in. Wipe that out, clean everything off, okay, and just put fresh in. And you don't really even need a gasket. You want to put a little bit of gasket material on, fine. Right? The kit comes apart nice, the whole thing. And it's just got an O-ring. And if you want to put a little gasket material on, put a little Permatex on it. You don't want to get it all over the place. So let's clean this up, and we'll put it back together with some fresh lube. Okay, we're ready to put it together. And what I did over here, and you can see, I know there's a little bit of glare, but this is the top. I cleaned them up and I sprayed them with my aluminum paint. I like this. The Eastwood stuff is really nice because it dries really fast. You can touch it in 10-15 minutes and work with it. And I put a thin layer of RTV on it. Okay, very thin. Don't want to get it into the O-ring areas. You know, keep those areas clean and free of debris. All right. And so now we're going to put it together. Okay. And then here I put a little bit. I happen to have some synthetic, but I put in some 75-90, about half and half of that, and 40 weight oil. You want it pretty thin. You can put it thick, but you know it gets cold, and this doesn't get hot. So I'm going to put it together. So basically you're going to hold it in place, hold it up, put the top on, put a couple of screws in it, and keep going. So let's see what comes up. What do you think? That looks good, right? Let's take a closer look. Up in the air we go. I think that looks good. What do you think, guys? All right. Now let me tilt it over. All right. I just want to, whoa, up in the air we go. Let me just, I got a couple little spots I want to shoot with the oil, and then I'm going to tilt it on its side and make a rig to get the oil out. Okay, fresh oil in it. Let's see what we get. I think so far so good. It's all done. Everything I can see is done. The only thing I probably would do is maybe clean the carburetor one more time. It runs a little bit lean, but if you adjust the mixture screw, which is underneath the carb, and I don't want to show you that right now, but I think you've seen it on the carb, you adjust that and it seems to run much better. So that's what it's there for. I think it looks really good, and I want to say thanks for watching this one. I'm going to call the customer up. We'll call this done. Thanks for watching another one of Arch's projects, Uncle Arch's projects at Arch's Garage. And don't forget to like and subscribe, and we'll be back with another one.